Hey there, Gel Press Junkies, and welcome to the Gel Press YouTube channel. If you're like me, you have had so much fun this year just learning new techniques and playing with new mediums on your gel press plate, and you have a stack of prints just like this. So today I want to show you 3 ways that you can turn those leftover prints that you're not maybe sure what to do with into 3 different kinds of beautiful ornaments that you can use on your tree or for some other kind of decorating. So I'm just going to start this first project by going through my prints, and I'm picking out 5 images, 5 prints that are contrasting. I don't want them all kind of in the same color family, and so you can see, and then for this project, I want my prints and my finished object to be double-sided. So since these are all made from my 8x10 plate, I am just folding them in half and just using a trusty glue stick just to glue them down in half. If you have something fancier than a glue stick, feel free. That just happened to be what I had handy and it worked. So yay for Elmer's glue stick. And so you can see I'm just folding them in half and gluing them down. That way I can keep my image double-sided and I can have that image available on both sides of my pieces. So I've called this one Crumpled Stacked Tree because I couldn't think of any other name for it other than just Ornament 1. So that is my fancy technical name. I'm going to grab some scissors and I'm just going to start cutting circles out of my glued pages. I originally cut the bottom one and then I realized it actually is better if you cut the smaller one first and then use it as the guide to cut all of your next pieces. So take the smallest one, use it to do your next biggest, then take that one, and so on and so on. You can kind of see how I'm stacking that. And I'm just basically just cutting circles, not trying to be fancy, not trying to make them perfect. Just making circles out of each of my images or even each of my prints that I used. And then I'm just kind of playing with them and stacking them on top of each other to see how they look. This would also be a super fun way to use your prints to make some really great backgrounds in your art journal, except obviously you wouldn't do these next step, you would just glue them down just like that. And that kind of makes me want to do that now. I might have to. I'm just taking them now and just kind of smushing them and crumpling them, just giving them texture. I'm not, yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just smushing and crimping and kind of wadding. It's a technical term, I guess. It's an artsy term. So I was trying to figure out the best way to get my holes through the middle. And I realized at this point it would have been better to poke my starter hole when they were all flat. So do as I say, not as I do. Make your starter hole before you get them all crumpled together. Definitely would make it so much easier. So I'm going to be using just this cord that I found at Walmart. I did find it was a little thick, but weirdly, my Walmart didn't have embroidery floss. So I think that definitely would have worked better and been a little easier. To add some decoration to the bottom of my tree, I bought these super cute bead set from Walmart because I didn't go shopping till late and Hobby Lobby was already closed. And so I kind of just added that into the bottom. And then I'm also taking my tweezers and just making that starter hole just a little bit bigger. And then to start it, I'm going to put a knot at the bottom just to give some space between the beads I put at the bottom and my first layer of my tree. It was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, so I just am adjusting my knot right there for you. I kind of just wanted to use these beads not only for spacing, but just to add some extra sparkle and some extra oomph. And then in between each layer of my tree, I am adding a knot. That is so they don't lay right on top of each other. You could try it if you wanted them to lay right on top of each other, but it does make for kind of I guess squatty is the word, but it makes for a really squatty tree. And so I kind of wanted it to have a little bit more height to it. So I'm just adding, like I said, a knot in between each one just to give a little bit of a gap. It's not super big, but you'll see it kind of gives the tree more motion and more swish, if you will. And so I'm going to kind of play with it and see. I thought maybe my bottom layer was a little weird, but then so I was kind of playing with it and seeing if I liked it or if it needed to be adjusted. And then I kind of was playing with it and decided, you know what, it was fine the way it was. So I took that little piece of foam off the bottom and tried it here. And again, I realized it was totally fine. I just needed to crimp that bottom layer a little bit differently. So it was all good. It was unnecessary and a waste of time. So I am really just loving the way this turned out. I wanted to try to figure out a way to give it a topper, almost kind of like the star or your Christmas topper. We have um, a top hat on the top of ours. So leave a comment down below what kind of tree topper you have if you're someone who celebrates Christmas, and what kind of, and you put up a tree this year. What kind of topper do you have? Are you a traditionalist with a star or an angel, or are you contemporary with a top hat like mine? Um, I love Christmas trees, so I'm always fascinated to see what other people do. So you can see I'm playing around with some beads there, just trying to figure out which one is going to work the best. And like I said, I really feel like this particular cording was a little thicker than I really needed for this project. So using an embroidery thread will work perfectly for all of these projects for your hanging and that kind of stuff. So I really, really wanted this particular little rose to go on top, but it was just not loving this particular twine. So I was like, forget it, I'll move on. And then, of course, don't forget to tie some kind of loop at the top so that it dangles from your tree. Now, just to add some finishing touches, I'm just going back in and just giving it a little bit more crinkle, a little full-on squish, just to give it tons of texture and just to make it look just kind of fun and funky. All right, so this next one is probably the easiest out of all of them, but it does require either some special equipment or however you want to do it. I am pulling out my Sizzix Big Shot and some of my thin lit dies, just pulling out a few to play with and see how it goes. And I'm going to just pull out some prints that are I thought would be good to layer on top of each other for good contrast. I'm just cutting them down to size. These might look familiar. These are from my video last month or 2 months ago on I think 9 or 10 things that you can use in your kitchen to make texture on your gel press plate. And so that print was actually made using what was it? Oh, it was a blender bottle, like the wire thing that goes in a blender bottle. And so it was just a fun video to do to show that you can kind of see those fine textures everywhere. And so I've got my base shape done, and I'm really just going to make this super simple and use the same shape and just do it with 3 different patterns so that when they layer, they'll just look symmetrical. I guess that's the word I'm kind of looking for. I honestly have not used my Sizzix in forever, so it was kind of fun to pull it out and feel a little old school. Haven't used it a lot, and so it was, like I said, it was fun. And so you can see I've got those stacked together. And then my next goal is going to be to grab some black ink, and I want to just ink the edges of it just a little bit. Again, old school scrapping technique, but since I am layering them and they're all very busy patterns, doing this inking will just help them, well, I guess the blue's not busy, but the other two are, but just inking it will again help them pop against each other and not get lost and feel like one flat image. It'll help it keep that three-dimensional shape that I'm going to create here in just a minute by using some foam stickers, or foam, I guess they'd be stickers. I don't know what you would call them. Um, adhesive dots, I guess, or squares. Again, I'm feeling very old school, very throwback to my scrapbooking days because I've used a Sizzix, I've inked some edges, I've used foam dots. Um, so all those years ago are coming flooding back. And I happen to have a little pile of just some Christmassy stickers and stuff and embellishments. And this is just some foam, not foam, some cardboard die cuts, and I'm kind of trying to decide which one I want to use. I liked the tree, but I kind of liked the way the Christmas kind of filled the entire space widthwise for this project, so I went ahead and went with that one for this. And I've had it for a long time, so the stickiness was gone from the back of it. So I just went over and just grabbed some regular glue dots real quick, just to be able to tuck those, stick this down with. And I love it. The colors are similar but not exact, so it still has some contrast. To finish up this ornament, I'm using those same little glue dots just to add a little bit of a loop to the back of my project and securing it and covering up that glue dot with a piece of paper. And it is all finished. I think it is fabulous and super simple, and I love that anyone can make it. All right, our third and final ornament is one I'm calling a candy ribbon. And I am starting with some prints that I used from using my Faith Impressions border plate and some Delusions spray inks. I love the way these turned out. It just has beautiful flow, beautiful gradation. The colors blended well. It was super fun to make. So these were my test prints. And I'm trimming them not so much to anything specific. Mainly I just wanted to be able to get to a place where I could grab that handy Elmer's glue and to be able to glue them together, and then just to make it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to go back to my trimmer and just trim off any excess. I'm not really trying to get to a specific size. I think this is about 2 inches wide, but mainly just trimming up those edges and then getting it just started to bend a little bit. For this one, I bought these really cool beads that I'm going to use to as the base of my candy ribbon ornament. I'm putting a tassel at the bottom and then a bead. And you can obviously make this as intricate as you want. You can use different beads, you can use crystals, you could use longer prints or maybe piggyback some prints together to make really long zigzags. I'm just going to make this one into just kind of a standard S shape, but I really think it gives you the idea and gives you just this beautiful visual of the contrasting of the blues and the pinks on either side. So I'm just using some cording on an embroidery, um, what is it? An embroidery needle, and threading it up through the bottom, again, starting with that tassel, and then adding a couple of beads before I looped it or kind of folded it over to make part of my S curve, and then repeating the 2 beads again, and then going back in and adding the top of the S curve. And again, you could do as many flips back and forth and curves. I'm just making sure that you're putting those beads in between because it really keeps your shape and adds dimension and adds sparkle and adds fun. And that's one reason this is my favorite out of all 3 of them because I love the colors and I love the sparkle. To finish it off, I'm adding a few more beads to the top and knotting it and making sure I give myself a nice little loop there. All right, and that is the last of our 3 ornaments. Thanks so much for joining me today, and don't forget to click like and subscribe for more gel press fun.